This video delves into the disturbing case of Taylor Pomaski, a 29-year-old woman whose sudden vanishing in 2021 rattled the state of Texas. What started as a standard missing person report soon turned into a haunting enigma tied to a former NFL athlete. A turbulent romance and a shocking end that nobody saw coming. There were no pleas for assistance. No neighbors picked up on anything strange. No security systems went off. Just a short-lived blaze in the backyard that sparked and faded before dawn. Taylor Pomaski was last spotted at her residence in Spring, Texas, amid a casual get-together. The evening seemed ordinary enough. What followed would shatter her loved ones, burden the local area, and silently kick off one of Harris County's most thorough murder probes in recent memory. Taylor had been dating Kevin Ware Jr., a one-time NFL player, for a few months. Those living nearby said the pair generally stayed private. Friends and relatives picked up on the strain. They sensed it even without grasping the full severity. Everything played out on Sunday, April 25, 2021. People showed up that night expecting an easy evening of tunes and beverages. Those present remembered bursts of laughter, raised voices, and a heated clash between Taylor and Ware. She looked clearly upset. One attendee said she seemed desperate to depart but stayed put. Another claimed she had been confined to a room for a while. By midnight, many had headed home. Taylor was never glimpsed again. Her vehicle sat unmoved in the driveway. Inside the home lay her possessions, her bag, cell phone, and pet dog, all left undisturbed. No one reached out to emergency services. No report of a missing person came in for weeks. It wasn't a yell that raised flags. There was merely quiet. Taylor's messages ceased receiving responses. She stopped phoning her mother, a habit she never broke. Days went by with her communications left on read. By May, her parents from out of state had already alerted law enforcement. It had been over a week with zero contact from their daughter. The first filing was simple. A 29-year-old female had disappeared after April 25, last observed at a property on Stallion Brook Lane. The truth wasn't evident right away. Deputies stopped by the house for a safety visit. At first look, everything seemed normal. No bloodstains, no signs of break-in, no hints she had chosen to depart willingly. People don't simply evaporate in the spring air. Situated just north of Houston, the region is a broad suburban expanse dotted with simple brick houses and tidy yards. It's generally peaceful on weekdays, but that serenity can hide darker truths. In places like this, folks do register when someone vanishes, yet it frequently requires someone voicing concern for official action. At the outset, authorities presumed Taylor had gone voluntarily. Not only was her safety in question, but several individuals had raised worries about her unstable partnership. Investigators checked her prior law enforcement contacts, and one event stood out. Mere weeks prior to the gathering, a domestic incident had been documented. She had shared with a friend that she felt threatened. She never pursued a formal complaint. One of the initial puzzles for detectives was the total halt in her online presence. No financial activity, no cell phone tower signals, no logins to social platforms, nothing. It was as though she had vanished digitally. In the modern era, such a blackout is seldom unintentional. The early chronology was unclear. Her final verified sighting fell between 10:30 p.m. and midnight. Nobody remembered watching her exit the residence. There were no rideshare logs or outgoing calls. Either the surroundings were too dim that evening or nearby cameras weren't operational. Police knocked on doors throughout the neighborhood. Residents mainly recalled noise from yelling and loud tunes. But then one resident shared something surprising. She remembered noticing smoke rising from the backyard that night. It appeared to be a modest fire, and she figured they were just disposing of garbage. She hadn't brought it up until then. It was a modest observation, but authorities jotted it down. When detectives went back to the property, they performed another inspection. This time they applied luminol in critical spots like the kitchen, corridor, and rear entrance. Nothing jumped out right away. There were no indications of heavy bleeding, no drag trails, but something still seemed wrong. The bathroom appeared excessively tidy. The tile grout had been recently whitened. Yet there was no evidence of hired cleaners. Instead of calming suspicions, the missing proof only intensified them. It sparked fresh inquiries. Who was the last to interact with Taylor? Who lingered once the party wrapped? And why would anyone meticulously sanitize the bathroom floor the day after a visitor disappeared? Investigators started scrutinizing Taylor's social group, who attended that evening, who departed early, and who had past legal troubles. As anticipated, attention centered on one person linked to all parties. Still, legally, it stayed a missing person matter. There was no corpse, no established crime location, and no observers to clarify events. All they possessed was the vanishing of a young woman into the darkness. While Taylor Pomaski lived, authorities might have spotted the entire sequence. But that insight arrived too late. During the 6 weeks before her disappearance, acquaintances, past co-workers, and even far-off kin observed gradual but consistent shifts in her demeanor. She grew slower to answer texts and started canceling outings without reason. When she did respond, her replies were curt, distant, and evasive. Detectives examining her communications found several erased threads, but surviving ones revealed plenty. Taylor was enduring significant strain at home. She alluded vaguely, saying phrases like, "Things have been rough," or "We're working through it." On a couple of instances, she confessed to being frightened, but offered no details. Notably, she never lodged an official grievance. There were no protection orders or safeguards enacted. However, she placed a late evening call to a friend on March 28, roughly 4 weeks before she vanished. The conversation lasted just under 5 minutes. That friend later remembered Taylor speaking in hushed tones and seeming confused. In that short exchange, Taylor reportedly said, "If anything happens to me, please keep this in mind." She gave no further explanation, and the call cut off swiftly. At that point, Taylor's name was already in police files from an earlier occurrence. On April 7, the Harris County Sheriff's Office got a report of a domestic conflict. Documents indicate officers went to the same Stallion Brook Lane home. Upon arrival, they encountered a verbal disagreement, but no apparent wounds or proof of assault. Taylor opted not to pursue charges and declined to give a formal account. Per routine, the deputies left without more steps. The file was logged and stored. In the aftermath of that visit, Taylor's public appearances dropped sharply. She used to share on Instagram roughly weekly, but then posts ceased. Her job attendance turned inconsistent, and she even skipped a key civil court date. Odd for someone her colleagues called reliable and on time. There wasn't one glaring alert, but a buildup of minor cues accumulated. Later, when detectives reviewed her emails and phone logs, they uncovered a repeated draft in her Gmail. The message had been accessed and revised multiple times in late April. The subject was, "In case you need to know." Within, one phrase stood out, "I didn't fall off the radar." The remainder was empty, save for the closing line. "They pushed me." Digital experts couldn't recover prior drafts or confirm if it was ever dispatched. The note stayed in her account when she disappeared. Never erased, never sent. Police enlisted behavioral specialists to evaluate Taylor's danger level. From available documents, her sudden retreat from social circles, indirect fear references, increasing withdrawal, and missed obligations put her in a high-risk bracket for domestic violence. This assessment occurred only post-disappearance. When investigators spoke with her friends, a repeated theme surfaced. Almost all, even those unacquainted, gave matching descriptions. Taylor would voice worry only to downplay or brush it aside right after. She habitually minimized, justified, and reframed her anxieties. One person recalled in their account that Taylor once said he frightened her sometimes, but she chuckled and claimed she was overreacting. Roughly a week before the gathering, Taylor had a more open talk with a previous housemate. Per the record, Taylor acknowledged she was thinking of departing but required more time to plan. She didn't want to escalate by moving prematurely. Then the party arrived. Investigators later stressed one vital aspect. Numerous individuals heard Taylor voice concerns, yet none of those signals ever led to tangible action. Beyond Taylor herself, nobody fully grasped the gravity. By the time the welfare visit happened, she had been absent nearly 2 weeks. As detectives probed further into her relationships and online traces, a pattern solidified. Taylor Pomaski hadn't merely disappeared. It was only after her absence that others recognized she had been gradually declining for weeks. Taylor was formally listed as missing more than 10 days after her last sighting. May 9, 2021, Mother's Day, was when her parents finally reached out to Harris County officials. After over a week of ignored attempts to connect, their alarm grew. Taylor never went quiet, but that day she did. There were no texts, calls, or even a social update for her mom. That void led to the initial contact with local authorities. Per the official log, 2 officers were sent to Taylor's recorded address in Spring, Texas. The house was secured, her car still parked out front. No evidence of forced access. When officers reached the residence, they were informed Taylor had departed on foot days earlier and not come back. But when asked for specifics, what she wore, the precise time she left, her intended destination, the answers stayed vague. The stop was documented as a routine safety check, and the officers left. It took another 5 days for the Harris County Sheriff's Office to formally add Taylor to the National Missing Persons System. Though the lag wasn't unlawful, it badly hampered progress. By the time officials scoured the area, time-critical items like footage from adjacent homes, shops, and road cameras had already been lost. By midday, the missing persons team had raised the case priority, but it remained handled as a typical adult vanishing. This label limited available tools. No Amber Alert, no joint search operation, no structured interviews past immediate contacts. Internally, some investigators expressed doubts. Taylor lacked any history of vanishing, wasn't tied to ongoing legal matters, and her accounts showed zero activity. Her phone hadn't connected since April 25, and it wasn't pinging towers, implying it was off, broken, or in a dead zone. This went beyond odd, it was total blackout. Still, no protocol standards had been met. As an adult, Taylor could legally drop out of sight. In Texas, like elsewhere, grown individuals can disappear unless foul play is evident. That shifted when detectives examined body camera video from the April 7 domestic response. 18 days before the party, Taylor appears momentarily. She speaks quietly, stands stiffly, and avoids looking at the officers. When one asks if she feels secure, she hesitates before nodding silently. She chose not to file anything. The man in the dispute stayed largely off camera. That evening, the matter closed. Reviewing the footage later, knowing of her fate, lent it new gravity. What seemed like a trivial argument now looked like an overlooked warning. In May, authorities secured a warrant for Taylor's phone and search records. They found her last logged query on April 24, 1 day before she vanished: "What to pack if you have to leave quickly?" The search was entered but unsent. The query in the case lingered unresolved. That minor fact held significance. It hinted she was either gearing up for a swift exit or anticipated needing to. The complete lack of digital traces after her disappearance complicated matters further. Detectives knew adults going off-grid typically leave some trace, purchases, ride apps, or background location data. But Taylor left none. Her email stayed untouched. No reset attempts, no signs of a new number linked to her name. It was utter silence. One neighbor, during door-to-door checks, noted something peculiar in the days after the party. Taylor's dog, usually inside, had been wandering the backyard alone. This neighbor lived west of Stallion Brook Lane and thought the owners were simply out of town. Alone, it meant little. But when all fragments aligned on one timeline, the story changed. The problem was that by the time detectives connected them, vital proof had vanished. Garbage pickup had occurred twice, and the sole nearby station's video had been overwritten. Taylor's recent contacts included numbers now disconnected or reassigned. Detectives subpoenaed cell data within 500 meters of her last spot from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. in April. Handling that data took weeks. In a later note, one detective wrote, "We didn't miss the window. We didn't realize there was one." By June, the matter was reclassified from voluntary absence to suspicious circumstances. With the shift, extra assets arrived: homicide contacts, forensic specialists, broader digital access. Yet there remained no physical scene, no blood, no tool, no admission. What they possessed was a missing woman, inconsistent statements, and rising belief that something irreversible had happened. By June 2021, internal documents reflected the change. Taylor Pomaski's matter was no longer a missing person inquiry. Despite no body, it was deemed a suspected homicide. This pivot didn't stem from a confession or observer. It arose from what the proof lacked. The initial big move was revisiting the home where Taylor was last seen. Though checked in early May, detectives returned for a deeper review. The first pass was basic visual, consent entry, general notes. No clear crime signs emerged, but fresh digital info verified no phone or account use since April 25. Paired with escalating behavioral red flags, this led the sheriff's office to approve a forensic unit for targeted inspection. Their goal was specific. Look for chemical traces, accelerants, biological indicators, or structural changes inconsistent with normal use. They anticipated nothing blatant. They sought what had been intentionally erased. They targeted the master bathroom first. Grout in the shower displayed heavy scrubbing signs. Chemical tests showed oxidizing agents matching potent bleach or ammonia cleaners. That wasn't rare. Many households use them. But samples from tile base seams held tiny organic remnants. Lab work later confirmed human blood proteins. The DNA aligned with Taylor's. Only trace levels, unseen to the naked eye, lodged in porous areas bleach couldn't fully eliminate. It wasn't sufficient to prove homicide there conclusively, but enough to label the location potentially linked to foul play. Spurred by the neighbor's mention of a small fire on April 25 night, detectives did a similar sweep outdoors. At first glance, nothing notable. Fire pits are typical in Texas, outdoor burns common, but context mattered. Soil from a scorched spot near the edge was gathered for testing. Despite rain since, regrowth was incomplete, enabling sample extraction. Lab results showed polyaromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, byproducts of burning organics. More crucially, markers matched combustion of synthetic fibers from apparel and fabrics. Heightened calcium phosphate appeared too, a substance released from incinerated bone or tissue. While not proving a body was burned definitively, it eliminated routine trash disposal. The proof pointed to biological material incinerated. But collected amounts didn't allow precise source ID. No whole bone pieces, tissue, or teeth surfaced, but timing, absent reported burns or homeowner permits, suggested this wasn't standard. Forensic teams then examined hallway carpet fibers from bathroom to back door, sent for separate review. The carpet had two layers, one seemingly new, another older underneath. Embedded in lower foam padding were aged fibers with blood markers matching Taylor's DNA. Though invisible and minimal, it confirmed her presence and more. No struggle signs, no weapon, no pooling, one investigator added in notes. But it sanitized in a manner unusual for normal upkeep. When questioned again, the homeowner stuck to the same version. Taylor left after a dispute. No mention of cleaning, no reason for the backyard fire, no rationale for bleached shower or burn traces. Detectives requested mobile imaging in bathroom and yard. UV and infrared scans showed no visible blood patterns or drags. That wasn't unexpected. The emerging term was containment. If something transpired, it was carefully controlled and hidden. Here, missing evidence became evidence itself. Concurrently, analysts checked scarce footage from nearby properties. Most was overwritten, but one camera 3 houses away caught a brief backyard light burst early April 26. The time matched soil burn patterns. The clip showed only ignition flash, nothing else. At this point, detectives held 3 key elements: a bathroom cleaned aggressively yet with confirmed trace blood, a yard with burned synthetic and organic signs, and hallway carpet linking blood between sites. While not charge-ready, they sharpened the picture. The matter moved to homicide. With each revelation, the timeline tightened and uncertainty faded. Then on December 10, 2021, the Harris County Sheriff's Office got a call from a technician with a private land crew. While clearing vegetation near a drainage ditch beyond city bounds in North Harris County, he spotted melted fabric scraps and wire mixed with what looked like half-buried charred animal bones. Sensing trouble, he alerted his boss. Within an hour, the boss contacted police. By late afternoon, crime scene teams arrived. The ditch was secluded, thick with growth, hidden, barely visible from any road. It lay about 25 miles from Stallion Brook Lane. On site, the first look verified suspicions. Scattered remains seemed human. A county-contracted forensic anthropologist directed recovery. The zone showed burn signs. Remains were broken, fragile, partly calcined from extreme heat. No complete bones emerged. With bone pieces, melted zippers, distorted grommets likely from sportswear, blackened lace holes appeared amid debris. Plastic warped from heat. It wasn't voluminous, but sufficient. Remains went to the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences, where odontologists studied jaw structure and dental bits. After 12 days of testing and comparison, the lab confirmed identity. Dental records matched Taylor Pomaski. Nearly 8 months since her disappearance. The match transformed the probe. Now a confirmed homicide, detectives re-evaluated all prior proof samples, labs, digital, with renewed intensity. They also grasped disposal location better. Remote and rough, it offered concealment perks. Hidden from view, no cameras, soft earth. Perfect for hiding something meant to stay hidden. The body wasn't deeply interred. Whoever placed it there lacked time or tools for a real grave. The burn seemed hurried, partial, irregular. Due to remains condition, pathologists couldn't pinpoint exact death cause. No ligature marks, no bullets, no clear blunt trauma signs. Though the skull fractured, it was unclear if pre- or post-mortem. The autopsy summary cautiously noted, homicidal violence cannot be excluded. Investigators compared backyard burn data with dump site combustion analysis, but time-lapse prevented chemical match. Instead, they used geographic tools and April cell records. Mapping activity between sites revealed a key point. About 12 hours after Taylor's last sighting, a tower ping from a device tied to her boyfriend placed him near the remote dump spot. Though not exact GPS, triangulation put him within a 2-mile radius encompassing the ditch. But it wasn't just remains discovery that altered things. It was linking two sites, a chemically scrubbed home and a distant spot with burned human remnants. Both connected by phone movement, absent alibis, conflicting stories. As one detective put it, we didn't get a confession. We exposed deliberate steps to hide a crime nobody reported. In following weeks, the DA's office assembled a grand jury. Despite no weapon, confirmed cause, or eyewitness, they had remains, conduct defying innocence, and forensics fitting seamlessly. Pressure mounted fast. Once Taylor Pomaski's remains were ID'd, her family received them back. At her mother's wish, a private service occurred. Public learned via brief release confirming ID in homicide reclassification. A silent, overgrown patch untouched for months had yielded truth. The remains discovery was pivotal. Detectives could no longer depend on patterns or indirect foul play signs. They now had concrete death proof. Next was establishing responsibility and method. Investigators subpoenaed location history for all Kevin Ware Jr.'s devices. He was Taylor's boyfriend and last to see her alive. Return data gave precise geolocation across Taylor's disappearance day and after. The pattern was stark. From late April 25 afternoon to early April 26 hours, Ware's phone stayed fixed at Stallion Brook Lane. No motion, no brakes. Then at 6:13 a.m. April 26, it moved. West first, then north, halting near rural unincorporated Harris County off a service road. That spot was 0.7 miles from the ditch of later remains recovery. The phone lingered 22 minutes before retracing. It was the sole recorded visit there in surrounding months. Alone, data wasn't charge-worthy. But with no other explanation, burn residue at both home and ditch, the stop anchored prosecution timeline. Investigators re-interviewed party attendees. Some refused repeat talks, others restated earlier. Tension existed, Taylor distressed. One recalled new detail, behind closed door, argument escalated. Another noted homeowner next morning post-sunrise pressure washing patio.
Then innocuous, now viewed as evidence destruction attempt. Around then, jail informants emerged.
While detained pre-trial on separate drug/weapons counts, were allegedly overheard saying vague things about eliminating a problem and cleaning thoroughly.
Language indirect, lacking specifics, but multiple described similar. Alone inadmissible as direct, they bolstered premeditation and cover-up narrative. By mid-2022, DA's office shaped indictment plan.
Despite absent weapon, confession, eyewitness, combined digital, forensic, behavioral proof built strong case.
Grand jury met July 26.
Prosecutors showed cell data linking where to dump site, forensic burn/chemical matches between yard and ditch, trace home blood, inconsistent accounts, post-party cleanup, jail statements implying guilt.
July 28, grand jury indicted.
1 murder count, 1 tampering with corpse. Were transferred from federal to state custody immediately. In short statement, Ware's lawyers denied claims, arguing no direct tie to crime and media driving case over facts.
Court set no bond hold pending proceedings. One major fine came from encrypted app on suspect's second phone.
Though reset before recovery, analysts pulled deleted fragments from cache. Among recovered texts, one stark line, "It's done just like we planned."
No time, recipient, context visible. But memory placed near disappearance, heightening suspicion. While not definitively crime-linked, included in court evidence. Unresolved remained key issues: precise death cause, body duration at house, possible accomplices in cover-up. But case foundation solidified. One prosecutor called it convergence of separate oddities. Minor elements alone trivial, together undeniable.
With suspect charged in trial pending, fieldwork paused.
Focus turned to preparation. Taylor's family notified privately. DA called her mother personally. Sole public comment: "We believe Taylor's voice speaks even now." With indictment secured, probe entered end stage.
Rebuilding events from Taylor's final sighting to burned remains discovery months later in rural ditch.
That demanded more than proof. It needed provable sequence, a chain narrating what Taylor couldn't. A tight window under 12 hours.
From witness reports, mobile data, forensics, Taylor last seen at home party April 25 night, around 11:45 p.m. Between then and about 6:15 a.m. next morning, likely, death, cleanup attempt, remains burning, disposal. Working backward from suspect phone final ping, detectives noted brief rural North Harris stop, same area as remains. 20-plus minute stay suggested rushed disposal, not planned burial or careful hiding. Back at Stallion Brook Lane, forensics found microscopic blood in shower grout, no visible pools or sprays. Blood proteins in crevices implied bathroom used for biological processing. Chemical tests showed high oxidizing agent, likely bleach, applied 24 to 48 hours post-vanishing. Plumbing checks found irregular residue matching organic waste via drains. P-trap sludge from sink and shower held degraded tissue fragments, too broken for DNA but consistent with decomposition. Investigators concluded findings likely indicated post-death cleanup and handling. Hallway to backyard exit lacked visible blood or drags, but tests showed faint hemoglobin in carpet padding below. A forensic pathologist advised DA, if victim died or disabled in bathroom, quickest disposal route was hallway to rear door. Yard soil backed this. Lingering fire signs included PAHs and calcium phosphate from organic burning. Same compounds at ditch, though direct sample match impossible due to time. Investigators theorized initial destruction attempt in yard, likely halted, perhaps odor, darkness, time limits. This led to deeper digital scrutiny. Deleted file metadata on secondary device showed communication 3:15 a.m. to 5 a.m. April 26. Analysts found encrypted exchanges with known associate, criminal record, suspect's circle link. Timestamps showed coordinated talk, but after 5:04 a.m. it ceased. No more texts, suspect phone offline soon after. Forensic anthropologist assessed remains condition. Some bones fully calcined, others minimally damaged. Uneven joint heat fracturing matched open-air hasty backyard fire, not controlled incineration. This fit improvised, incomplete disposal theory aligning with home evidence. To lock timeline, prosecutors used behavioral review. Suspect never called 911, never reported missing, ignored family/friend, repeated contacts afterward. One subtle detail from neighbor camera: faint car door slam and vehicle departure at 6:05 a.m. matched suspect phone movement start toward ditch minutes later.
Audio only, no video.
Car sounds aligned with first ping near site. Final reconstruction: layered evidence, location tracking, chemical traces, degraded biology, digital metadata. No singular moment, but unmistakable chain: confrontation, violence, cleanup, failed concealment, disposal.
Theory required no clear motive.
Only opportunity, access, hiding, control, all evident. Emotional toll was heavy.
Reporting delay shut evidence windows.
Yet fragmented clues, aligned, formed coherent crime, cover, disposal cycle. The field fire wasn't start. It was closing act to erase all prior.
Final act of tale beginning behind closed bathroom door.
The case officially wrapped April 28, 2023, almost 2 years after Taylor Pomaski vanished from her Spring, Texas home.
No jury decision.
It closed via plea deal. Kevin Ware Jr., former NFL tight end and last to see her alive, pleaded guilty in Harris County Court to murder and tampering with a human corpse.
Judge imposed 30 years state prison. No trial. No testimony. Just documents, then quiet.
Avoiding trial wasn't casual. Despite circumstantial/forensic strength, prosecution lacked confirmed cause. No weapon, no recorded confession, no direct witness to killing.
Yet digital path, forensics, post-crime actions formed damning picture.
Facing mistrial risk or appeals from absent cause, prosecutors took plea ensuring conviction.
Defense waived appeals, secured concurrent terms.
In exchange, court got formal guilt admission.
Sentencing brief.
Taylor's family attended silently, skipped victim statement.
Harris County Sheriff's Office closed case post-hearing.
Later, conviction/sentence announced in short release.
No more details shared. For investigators on case over 18 months, outcome was facts-based, not sentimental.
Still, key questions lingered unanswered. Weeks before death, Taylor contacted police. She told friends of fear. Relationship displayed volatility, control signs, but none prompted swift action. In retrospect, overlooked warnings could have led to earlier help. April 7, 911, missed appointments, sudden quiet. Separate, no alarms, together, pattern clear too late.
Taylor's case wasn't isolated. Nationwide, systems often fail women in abusive dynamics. Absent visible harm or formal reports, many treated non-criminal despite danger cues.
Her story became tragic illustration where early signs insufficient for protection.
Post-sentencing weeks, local domestic violence groups used her case for awareness. Timeline of digital silence, isolation, unreported fear featured in trainings, seminars.
Her name on flyers, guides, quiet school presentations, lesson in caution.
Family/friends held private home memorial. No speeches or statements. In quiet moment, Taylor's mother told reporter she kept trying to leave. She just didn't get far. With that, court closed murder file, entered record. Plea confirmed where serves minimum 25 years before parole eligibility. Possibility only in his 70s.
Days before vanishing, Taylor drafted email titled, "In case you need to know."
Never sent.
One line undelete, "I didn't fall off the radar." Below, second sentence hung like shadow whisper. "They pushed me." The system finally heard, but far too late. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Hidden Cases files. We post crime case videos every night. Until next time, stay sharp, stay vigilant.